baby! It's episode number 69 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this week's episode is brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is roasted right here in Iowa, and it's my favorite coffee. I drink it every single morning, and it's definitely what's been keeping me going. I found it last year. Somebody recommended it to me via the Audible Farm Facebook page, so shout out to that. I mean, it's been great for everything. So I really appreciate somebody recommending a coffee company to me, and it's awesome that I like it so much. And I'm pretty sure you'll like it too. So what you got to do is go to www.couchtowncoffee.com, find a coffee you like there, and when you make an order, make sure you enter the code word Byron's. That's right. The code word this week will save you 20% when you make an order. Make an order this week, you save 20%. Let them know Audible Farm sent you there, and save some money at Couchtown. Once again, that code word is Byron's, and it saves you 20%. So www.couchtowncoffee.com, code word Byron's. Why is the code word Byron's? Well, I stopped at Byron's. That's why. You've heard me mention Byron's on the podcast before. If you've listened to other episodes, Byron's is a little bar that's in Pomeroy, Iowa, and it's Pomeroy. For anybody that knows it, is not necessarily a huge town, but somehow Byron seems to land some pretty awesome shows. It's one of those things, once you go to Byron's, you realize why it's kind of a special place. And I posted a picture of Byron's on the Instagram page recently. I talk about that. It's just one of those cool things. I wanted to go sit and talk to Byron. One of the first times I ever saw Marvin play was at Byron's. And it's just a neat little bar I don't want to offend anyone, but it's in the middle of nowhere. It's just a diamond in the rough. And it's really kind of crazy that that place exists where it does. So I wanted to sit down and talk with Byron about how the place came about and why it exists. And I feel like this episode was pretty good. We sit down, we get to know Byron pretty well. You can hear me in the podcast multiple times in awe of what's on the walls. We recorded part of the podcast in one location in the bar, and then the rest of the podcast in a different location, just so because I was there while Byron was working, so we were trying to get it, in between some people being there. So when we found some time, we'd sit down and record a little bit here and there, and it's just kind of crazy, as we moved around one side of the bar to the next. It was pretty wild just looking at some of the stuff on the walls. It's kind of crazy. It's just a neat environment. There's plenty of great music there. They host a jam night that's monthly. There's a singer-songwriter night that's monthly as well. So if you're a songwriter and you got some good tunes that you want to go up there and bust out, go for it. It might be a great place to check it out. We discuss all sorts of stuff in this podcast, so I hope everybody really likes it. This is episode number 69 with Byron Stuart. He's the owner of Byron's in Pomeroy, Iowa.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Today, I came over to Byron's. I came over to Byron's again. If you follow Audible Farm on Facebook or Instagram, you can see the picture. I took a picture of your sign out front, Byron, and put it up online. I was like, "Hey, I stopped by Byron's," and it got a lot of traffic. A lot of people know you. For people that don't know you in the Iowa area, you own a bar in Pomeroy.
Yes,
and it's a very unique place. Can you tell us a little bit about it? I mean, I could talk about it all day and night, but
I bought the bar actually. Tomorrow will be the 24th anniversary of me opening.
Oh, no kidding!
Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary.
When I bought it, I knew that I wanted to have live music in here,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a friend who played guitar and sang, and so I had him come in here.
Okay.
And he played, and then I found a band in Des Moines called Brother Trucker.
Oh, yeah.
And they came in and played, and they played several times. I call them my house band. They've played here so many times.
Cool.
And then I went after Todd Snyder and got him. He was my first national act.
Cool.
Yeah, March 4th, 2001.
I think last time we were here, we were talking about it. I think you, me, and Clint Riedel were talking about it maybe.
Yeah, that was just fantastic. And I had no idea what to expect, a big act like that. And I sold the show out, and then about 25 people didn't show up, and they hadn't paid their money for the ticket. So I kind of lost my ass on it, but I also learned a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a ticket, you give me the money first, and then I'll save it for you.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
But it was still great, and to this day, he remembers me. If I ever see him, Byron, how's it going?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you're just saying your name, people know who Byron. You're like the one and only Byron around.
Yeah.
You've come up a few times on the podcast, as a matter of fact. Whether whoever I'm talking to, just people from around the area. Your bar is in northern Iowa, for people that don't know it. I've actually been to, I went to see Marbin here, was the first time I'd ever been here. And that was wild, because Marbin, like you said, is, world traveling band. They go everywhere. They're not from America. I did a podcast with Danny Rabin, actually. And where I met him the first time was at a show before this. But when he came through here, I showed up and he recognized me. And I was like, dude, this is going to be a great show. Like, look at this place. I remember I got a pizza. I was sitting at one of the booths by myself, just drinking soda, eating pizza, watching Marbin. That was when I really started taking in, like, man, this place is special. Like, what? I don't know. This place is, I can only describe it as a diamond in the rough. You bring in so many people from, as far as musicians, from all over America.
I've been extremely lucky, and they say I'm really nice to them, and they spread the word for me, and it's just great.
So
I haven't had too many that I didn't like.
Do you do all I don't want to say like promoting, but you hire all the bands and they all contact you and you do all that kind of booking and stuff like that?
Yeah.
That's all you. So is most of it you looking for bands, or do they kind of come find you?
Oh, no, I don't. I hardly ever go after a band. They all call me up and say, we're going to be in the area. Can we play such and such a date?
Awesome. Has it always been like that?
No.
Okay.
No. Although, Canned Heat called me up and said, we're going to be in the area. Can we play? Mm-hmm. And that was 17 years ago.
Okay.
They played for my 50th birthday.
Oh, wow.
What a night, what a weekend to have them here. And just like, I didn't know that much about Canned Heat other than they had played the first Woodstock, and they were well known. And they came in, and almost every song was, oh, wow, that was them. Wow, that was them. And I had a overcrowd in here of about 120 people, which was shoulder to shoulder people. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the show, everybody was just bouncing to the music. They were standing in the booths and everything. It was just such a special night. And I'm going, wow, what a way to turn 50.
That's awesome. And for people that don't know, like, this isn't like a huge bar. This isn't like when
I consider 100 a complete sellout.
Yeah, 100 would still be pretty tight in here. And speaking of pretty tight in here, I came over here for a jam night. You have jam nights here, is that right?
I have a jam night first Thursday of the month, and second Thursday of the month is singer-songwriter night, where you come and play your own stuff.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Oh, man, I bet that has the ability to bring in all sorts of people as far as, there's probably people that come to jam night that also come to singer-songwriter night, and they probably play like the same songs, because I know people that like I don't know, Clint Riedel comes to mind. Like, does he ever come to both of those and play his songs? Or
yeah, he's been to the songwriter too.
Oh, cool.
I don't get much turnout for songwriter.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I can say for myself, I don't know about anybody else, I'm not much of a songwriter. I can play songs that somebody else writes, but
every once in a while I've had a guy here from Ames came up to play, but the last 3 months nobody's even showed up.
Oh, that's kind of rough.
I set up for it, and nobody shows up.
But just singer-songwriter is another one that's tough, though. Like I said, have you ever played music yourself?
I was in band in high school, but I faked my way through it. I don't play anything. That's why I like listening to somebody else.
What did you play?
They put all the work into it.
Yeah.
I played baritone.
baritone saxophone.
Oh, just baritone, like a small tuba.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Oh, yeah, okay.
I have one over my back door back there.
Oh, nice. Oh, there, I see it. That's awesome. Oh, you got a lot of stuff on the walls here, by the way. A lot of great.
Yeah, the guy that taught me how to bartend says, "Don't clutter your walls." I didn't believe him.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of like eclectic things. I see a lot of Grateful Dead things on the wall. I mean, obviously, I don't want to say this is like a Grateful Dead bar, but there's
Oh, it pretty much is.
Yeah.
And at least the Grateful Dead attitude.
Yeah. It's
Peace, love.
Yeah, it's everybody here's here to have a good time and enjoy one another's company. I'm sure there's never really too many altercations up at Byron's.
Nope.
That's probably like the best part about being out here, especially like singer-songwriter nights, jam nights, things like that. You get a lot of people that are really there to support one another. They want to hear good things and enjoy things, and like you said, peace, love, man.
Well, like the last two jam nights, there's a young boy, Connor Holtorf, from Carson. Let's see. Let's get it right. Carson Holtorf goes to school at St. Edmunds. 17 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
Just a fantastic guitar player for that age.
Yeah,
It's just amazing. He gets in there and just jams with the people.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean that. He was here at Jam Night, right? Just standing in the back ripping it up. That's the guy. I mean, if you've listened to the podcast, there's been this kid that goes to Jam Nights, and I don't know his name. That's his name. I've mentioned him before. He just shows up and shreds a bunch.
Yeah.
He's weirdly good for being young.
I haven't heard him sing yet, so I don't know if he sings.
Dude, he's so good. But yeah, that was one of those reasons I was joking around when people were trying to get me to go up there and play. I'm like, see, he's got it down pat. I mean, there's nothing I'm going to be able to add to that. That's good. That's some good taste and stuff. It's pretty wild. I almost just want to say, like, what's the deal with the Grateful Dead stuff? I mean, you and I obviously have a pretty big age gap, so you probably have a little bit closer attachment to the time.
A quick story of me is I graduated high school in 1971, went to college at Iowa State University. They said, we're going to see the Allman Brothers tonight. And me, who all I've ever heard was top 40 AM radio, said, who the hell are the Allman Brothers? And they said, well, come along. I think you'll like it. Oh, wow. I think that night changed my life, because where have they been hiding shit like that? And then they turned me on to the Grateful Dead, and I just really fell in love with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we went to a lot of concerts in college. It was $8 at the most to go to see a show. And great, cheap entertainment. Great entertainment.
You want to hear something crazy? Is one of the first like big shows I went to go travel to go see. I went out to Red Rocks in Colorado to see the Allman Brothers' 40th anniversary tour.
Oh, wow.
So obviously not quite the same lineup, but as some of the people have passed. But still, that was maybe we do have a little bit of a kinship coming from that. It's kind of crazy that the Allman Brothers and Grateful Dead aren't like exactly the same kind of music, but they do both lend themselves to like a jammy kind of atmosphere. Yeah. Is that kind of what you lean towards as far as like your favorite styles of bands and things like that? Or?
Not really. I just tend to go towards the people that are good at their craft and love what they're doing. And most of the people that come in here, it's a career for them because they got to do it. It's in them that they just have to do it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like, you can notice when somebody's playing music and they're passionate about it. It's one of those things. You can't hear it. I don't know how to describe it. You can't outright hear it, but it's like comes out in the music still. You can like feel it when they're playing.
Hey, thanks a lot.
You can kind of feel it when they're playing. It's one of those things that's it's like a non-tangible,
Yeah.
And
and every time you hear somebody sing, it should be different.
I could see that.
Because Stuttering Jimmy told me this one time. He says, "How can?" And I'm not going to do the stutter, but he says, "How can you sing it the same? You're not feeling the same."
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Plus, that's one of the things about...
Plus, have you ever heard Stuttering Jimmy?
I have not, actually, so...
Wow, you got to go see him. Because now talk about somebody who just pours his soul out in every song, and it's just uplifting to come across somebody that's gone through so much, and it's good to see his success story coming. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard of Stutter and Jimmy. I know he's played. I mean, even like in Humboldt at one of the bars there at the Poorhouse. But that was, I mean, like it stinks because doing the podcast, being in other bands, I'm just kind of like a busy person. I don't always have time to go to these things to see stuff because sometimes I'm playing, sometimes I'm doing band practice or homework or whatever I'm doing. But it's one of those things. The deeper I get into this, the more I realize some of these people are familiar faces to a lot of people around the area. Like you said, just Stutter and Jimmy is one of those people that you can go to almost any town in the northern Iowa area, and usually the people in the music scene know him. It's kind of crazy like that. Do you get a lot of like regulars, quote unquote, acts coming through here?
Acts?
Yeah, like just is it like anybody from around the area ish that just comes here and kind of plays like a once a month show or anything like that? Or
no. I do get some. I got a Craig Swalwell band from Ames, and they're older group like I am, and they've come and play in a couple times a year. Brother Trucker, I'll have them anytime they want to come up. Dust Radio from Des Moines. Oh, now I'm going to forget everybody. Aaron Short.
I mean, that's like the crazy thing though is when I see it online. We were talking before the podcast that. I don't know a lot of the names that come through here.
I didn't know them either.
And it's one of those things, though. You've got such a good fan base here that somebody's always taking some video and throwing it up on Facebook or wherever. And I'll be scrolling through Facebook one of these days, and I'll just be looking at them like, oh, here's that show that was at Byron's, and then it's just like, oh damn, this is good. I should have went to that. And it's one of those things like, how do I just not go out there and go to shows, especially that everyone seems to be that good here that plays here.
Yeah, I've like I said, I've been really lucky that I'm getting top-notch talent. And if you go to YouTube and just type in Byron's in Pomeroy, Iowa, you can watch a lot of videos.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I must have somebody here taking a lot of your videos for you.
Yeah, I have no idea who sends them in.
That's cool. That's cool. That's really neat.
But now, somebody told me that I should live stream it. And I understand the reasoning for it, but my first initial reaction to it is, oh yeah, give them another fucking reason not to get off their ass and come up to live music.
Yeah, that's the toughest thing ever.
But then you can't really say that to people because that might offend them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean...
But that was my first reaction when they said you should live stream it.
And yeah, I totally get it because, I mean, being in a band, etc., like I used to do this thing where... we would play a show, I'd take video, we'd take some audio, we'd mesh it all together, split the songs up, I'd throw them up on the YouTube channel. I want to get it done as fast as possible, maybe even the next day if I can. And then after a while I'm thinking like, why am I putting all this time and energy into giving everyone a free version of exactly what they could have seen had they just went to the show? And I don't know, people don't watch. It's not like, oh, the videos blew up and then nobody went to watch us play anymore. But it was still one of those things where I thought to myself, I'm putting in a lot of work to give people an excuse to not go out of their house and watch us play live. So I started doing that a lot less frequently than I did when I first started. But
although giving away their music worked for the Grateful Dead. I mean, to this day, you can tape any of their shows.
Yeah.
And they have taped every one of their shows and are now selling them. But
yeah.
So it didn't ruin them. But
that was one of those things that a couple of my friends really, really liked the Grateful Dead, and they started just being, oh, I like this show, I like this version of this song from this, and they started just digging into these like, oh, this one from San Francisco in '73 in August is really good because this version has a 14-minute jam in the middle, and it's like, how do you listen to all of this music and find those versions and know which ones they are?
I don't have any bootlegs.
Yeah.
But I got to see them 9 times.
What? No way.
Yeah.
And how many of the originals are still there when you saw them? I guess
9 times.
I was gonna all 9.
I never. Pigpen was already dead before I got to see him.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to see Brent Wantland and the other keyboardist, and I got to see.
Oh man.
No. Godchaw. I got to see him too. I'd say nobody wanted to be called the Grateful Dead keyboardist because they all died.
It was almost maybe I bet
Because
that
Bruce Hornsby was their piano player for a while.
that's wild, and that's something that like the Grateful Dead is like almost one of those like cultish bands where they have such a backstory and such a history, such a following. I mean, you can go to I don't want to say Grateful Dead shows because they're not really like doing Grateful Dead shows anymore. But for a while, you could go to any of the offshoots of the Grateful Dead. Who am I thinking of? There's a couple of them. Like Further, you can go to like a Further show, and the whole parking lot is a gigantic party, and it's not even people going to the show. They just know that like it's almost, I don't want to compare it to this. I almost feel bad comparing. It's almost like a Jimmy Buffett concert. It's just like all of a sudden it's like, dude, there's tikis and just like everything everywhere all over the place, barbecues and stuff. And it's the same concept for Grateful Dead, but
Except
not,
there ain't a bunch of drunks.
yeah, it's not Jimmy Buffett time, you know? So
Well, when I first started going to the Grateful Dead shows, it was the politest crowd you have ever been around. If you bumped into somebody, you said, "Excuse me," and they go, "Oh, no, excuse me, excuse me." Everybody was just so kind and everything. And then when the drug of choice turned to alcohol, when all these looky-loos were coming in because they heard that the Grateful Dead were so great, and they no longer cared about the music, they were just there to say that they'd seen the Grateful Dead, and started, get the fuck out of my way, and the attitude just changed drastically. And then, but if you went to a Further show, it was the Dead, but nobody knew it was the Dead except for the fans.
Yep.
So it was back to the polite crowd.
Yeah, that was like one of the wild things is I didn't go as deep into the Grateful Dead stuff as my friends did, but like having them around, I still got a glimpse into like what that was going on. I never ended up going to see Further when they came through a few times through Iowa, but it's just one of those unfortunate things. I always feel lucky to see as many bands as I have, but at the same time, I also kind of wish I would have seen more.
Well, I always considered the Dead to be an experience every time I saw them. Usually you had at least one good story about a show, but it was just everyone was different. I actually got to see them 2 nights in a row in St. Louis, and they didn't repeat a song.
Oh, cool.
And even cooler was it rained all the way to the outdoor show. Quit for the show.
Oh, cool.
Rained on the way home.
Oh, nice.
Both nights.
No
way. It was like, wow, that's putting out some vibes to the universe.
Yeah, it's like they knew like we're not going to ruin this. That's crazy. So like you not being able, I want to say like you start out, you're a young kid, you're Byron, you're turning into who you are today. You're right now you're wearing like a multicolored tie-dye shirt. You're just kind of a guy that I've always seen you smiling. You're just having a good time. I came here for a show one time and you did a raffle giveaways, and I think we've talked about the raffle giveaways maybe in a prior podcast once, but you give away unique gifts.
Well, just cheap little things that I wouldn't mind winning.
Yeah. I mean, honestly.
And some really good shits.
Yeah. One time I actually won something. I won a bubble wand, and it blew the hugest bubbles ever. Craziest thing, I go home, and when I got home, I had some relatives in town that had little kids. And I was like, check this out. Blew their mind. It was like it was meant to be,
Huh.
It was kind of crazy. It's like, check out this bubble. I won this tonight. And they're just like, this is the craziest thing ever. And I don't know.
And Eric Taylor, I was giving away that one day, and he says, "What the hell's that?" So I always call it, I don't care what it looks like, it's a bubble wand.
And that's a pretty good description. Use your imagination.
I don't know. I started doing these little drawings just for something to do at break time, get people to come in.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of a thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, how do you have anything else like that? Those little like kitschy kind of things that you do? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of them that I don't know of or anything like that. But
well, I give away back scratchers.
Back scratchers?
Yeah, I know a woman that's won 27 of them. But then she comes to all my shows, and I ended up with 78 actual shows with 3 canceled this last year. So,
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's
so that's a lot of back scratchers.
yeah. You do Friday, Saturday, Sunday shows usually
Well,
somewhere in there.
I
Usually.
do Sunday shows, and then if somebody's coming through that I want to hear again, I'll do other days.
That makes sense. And you,
But I got to learn to say no one of these days.
that's busy though. One a week, like one a week is a lot. Like, and then
Yeah.
you start stacking other ones in there because you're doing 1.5 a week. It seems like, or something like, 3 every 2 weeks. That's a lot. I mean, it's not like you're packing them in here every single night.
No, and it's.
but it's still a lot.
I don't have a huge population around me.
Yeah, I mean, for people that don't know, this is a town of how many?
Town of 600.
600, and you're not far away, but you're like the closest town is Fort Dodge, maybe.
Yeah,
if that's
30
big.
miles from Fort Dodge, 30 miles from Sac City.
So yeah, you're kind of in the middle of, I don't want to say middle of nowhere, but
We're at the edge of oblivion, as David Olney said.
there you go. So, but that's kind of one of the things that makes this place as awesome as it is you can drive into a tiny little town where this is pretty much the only thing in, I'm not saying this is the only thing in town, but this is kind of the only thing in town.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a bar, but it's not just like a hole in the wall bar. It's a place where you can go see, like we said, awesome music. You have a Facebook page that actually has all of the stuff on it, so people can go find your Facebook page and like it. That's awesome.
Can we
Yeah,
take a
definitely.
break here?
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back because I'm actually talking to Byron right now, and he's working. So I just want to say a huge shout out. Thanks, Byron, for taking some time out to talk to me while you're at work, and I hope I'm not bothering anybody here. So yeah, we're gonna be back in just a sec.
I think I'm ready.
All right, we are back. So I don't remember where we left off, but let's talk about some fun stuff. Like, what do you think the biggest show you've had here as far as like turnout wise, type deal? Like, what do you think the biggest show was? Like, have you ever had
Canned Heat was the biggest, but after that I refused to have that many people in here because that was right after that White Snake thing out in New York City where the fire was.
Oh yeah, was it?
And I had one of those suicide doors in here where if there would have been a fire, you wouldn't get out because you had to pull it towards you.
Oh yeah, okay, I get what
So
you're saying.
then that's when I cut it down to just 100 people in here. But since then, there's only been 3 or 4 shows that were more than that were 100 people.
So you've probably had to say no a few times to some people, like as far as coming in, like fans or like people that want to go to shows. So you have like a sellout limit then.
Yeah, and I announced that it's sold out, and if they called for a ticket, no, it's sold out. I'll put you on a waiting list, but I don't expect anybody to call me and say they're not coming.
Yeah.
But they're so few and far between that I don't really worry too much about it. I don't have many shows that people call for pre-tickets. So.
A lot of people just show up and get tickets when they show up here.
But now, here a year ago, there was a Malcolm Holcomb from North Carolina played here, and for the second time, you fall in love with him if you see him the first time. Anyway, he comes, and Greg Brown and Iris DeMent played on his last CD. So in the door walks Greg Brown to watch Malcolm Holcomb play at Byron's in Pomeroy, Iowa. And wow! And so he watched the show, and Malcolm actually got him up on stage, and Greg played 2 of his own songs. And, that he was on my bucket list to play here, but I just knew he was out of my price range. So when he left, he goes, wow, you got a really cool thing going here. I don't play much anymore. I'm pretty much retired, but I'd love to come play here.
Oh, that's cool.
So I threw him a couple dates, and he picked one. And then right before the show, he says, I was talking to Bo Ramsey, and he'd like to come along. Is that okay?
That's cool.
Yes.
That's sweet.
Wow. And I had Andy Fleming and the Sweet Nothings open up the show, and I had Art Cullen, Pulitzer Prize winner Art Cullen read passages out of his book in between
cool.
set breaks. So
Oh, that's crazy.
What a fun show that was.
That would've been
and that
wild.
sold out. 100 tickets. Just within 2 weeks, that sold out.
Oh, that's crazy. You know, one of the things I did notice is that usually you have like a flyer for every show, like a different flyer.
A poster, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like? I mean, I've seen them online floating around. You know, like here's this show's coming up, and it's like, damn, this is a pretty ballin' flyer for a little tiny bar.
I tell you, and I can't remember how many years ago it was. It's been a few years now. I had Kevin Gordon come for the first time from Nashville. And this guy calls me up and says, can I do the poster for that? And I hadn't even told the world that Kevin Gordon was coming, so I was quite impressed that he knew it. And I said, sure. And so he made that poster, and then he made a poster here and there for me, and now he does all my posters. And
Oh, that's crazy cool.
his name's Mark Gherkin from Sioux City, Iowa.
Oh, no way.
He also designs the Baumgars catalog.
Oh, sweet.
So whenever you see the Baumgars catalog, you can go, that's Byron's poster maker.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fantastic work. Everyone is different. They got a
Oh, yeah.
style to them, but everyone is different. And every once in a while, he just gets one that just screams at you. Just, wow.
Yeah, definitely. One of the coolest things about here, we were talking about things kind of hanging on the walls and things like that. I can see posters hanging on the walls, but I can also see a whole bunch of them on the ceiling and the ceiling tiles here. So you got like some of your own history just embedded in the walls up here.
Yeah, Budweiser used to make me really good big posters like that. And then, when you had smoking in a bar, you couldn't put anything on your ceilings or it'd just be dripping.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Let's talk about some of the stuff on the wall. I did talk about it a little bit earlier. There's some Grateful Dead stuff on the wall, yes, but like, what would be if you had to choose like one thing in here that's kind of the most uniquest or weirdest, or like, why is that on the wall kind of deal? Like, I'll pick mine, and it's one that I see every time I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and it makes me smile. I forget about it every time until I see it. It's the sign in the corner that says "Free air guitars. Please take one."
Oh, yeah. A friend of mine gave that to me. Well, he lent it to me.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I put this outside my tent when I go to festivals. And he said, it always gets the conversation going. So I'm going to let you use it until next festival season, and then I want it back. And he passed away, so I got to keep it. But
I'll tell you what. Every time I see it, it just makes me smile. So.
And then somebody brought me that guitar that has no strings on it. So.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's a guitar, but you have to play air in order to play it. So yeah, it's technically an air guitar. That's probably, if I had to pick one thing on the wall that just makes me smile, it'd be that one, because like I said, I forget about it every time. And even today when I showed up, I was just like, oh hey, there's that sign.
I have a lot of artwork in here people have done that makes me smile every time I see that.
Mm-hmm. I see like the Grateful Dead, but it's what's the painting? Oh man,
American Gothic.
Yes, it's American Gothic, but it's Grateful Dead, and there's also a mustache. Somebody stuck a mustache.
Yeah, that's on the outside of the glass.
That's
that's a Relics magazine poster from probably the mid 70s or something like that. Yeah.
No way. That's cool. I mean, did you collect this stuff for your whole life, and then just when you finally got the bar, you just stuck it all up on the walls? Like the first day you owned this, was it this packed with stuff on the walls?
Oh,
Did you keep aggregating stuff?
Oh,
across the years,
this is an evolution. I actually told myself I wasn't going to make it into a Grateful Dead shrine.
Mm-hmm.
But the very first day I opened, these girls gave me a T-shirt that was stretched and framed.
Oh, cool.
Of Jerry Garcia with wild hair.
Huh.
And that just kind of broke the string, and it's just gotten out of hand ever since.
How do you say no to that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, the Grateful Dead stuff is like...
And then my first case started because I bought a Grateful Dead cookie jar that looks like a bus.
Okay.
And I had it behind the bar, and I'd show it to people, and somebody busted off one of the roses off the top. I go, shit. So I talked to my uncle, and he built me that cabinet. And
cool.
Wow, it's cooler than hell. And it just, whoosh, it was full. And
Yeah.
built me another one, and whoosh, it was full.
That's
And this is just really the tip of the iceberg. I got much more at home.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, this it's a kind of a fun place because I mean, even if you, I mean, I was just talking about. I'm not the biggest Grateful Dead fan. I don't not like them. They're just not like one of those bands I sat down and got super into listening to. But it's still one of those bands you respect because they're good. But you don't have to just be like a Grateful Dead fan to come in here and enjoy the things on the wall. Because I mean, there's lots of stuff on the wall.
Oh, I love going to a bar and having something to look at.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said with the free air guitar sign. It's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you and I could literally just walk around this bar and just take up hours just pointing at stuff and talking about it if we really wanted to.
There's the Depot in Shenandoah, Iowa,
Okay.
run by Bill Hillman.
Okay.
I went down there and he makes my walls look clean.
Ah!
It's just like you take my walls and you stick something in between every gap that I have. And I said to him, I'm going to make a guess that everything on that wall has a story to it. And he goes, yep. And I go, well, sometime when I have a couple of days, I'll come back here and you can give me a tour. And he said, well, just a second. I'll give you a quick tour now. And took me around the place. And wow, some great stories. And I love it. Like, everything in here has a story behind it, too.
Yeah.
Whether I remember it or not is a whole nother matter. Most of them I remember. I remember the story, but not so much who gave it to me. So.
Oh, that's got to be rough though too. But it's the thought that counts because I mean, it's one of those things where you got some sentimental things on the wall, I'm sure, but you also just got some goofy things on the wall that probably reminded you of something or somebody gave you. And I mean, I don't frequent bars too much unless I'm playing, just for the simple fact that I don't drink so much now in my later adult life or whatever you want to call it. As of late, I haven't drank so much, but it's still like I go into bars, and this is probably one of my favorite bars because instead of just having like, this isn't like a knock on anybody, instead of just having like a Spuds MacKenzie light up thing on the wall, which are cool by the way, but instead of just having one of those on the wall, you've got other stuff. I mean, like I said, there's like a light up over here for a beer company, but still, it's not the only thing hanging up on the wall. What do you? I was just thinking about this. What do you think was the like craziest show as far as somebody that came in and you didn't know it was going to be as good as it was, and they were just like, they just blew you away. Like, have you ever had something like that? I know I've gone to shows where you're just like, this is going to be good. I know it's going to be good. And then they start playing and you're like, oh, this is way better. I knew it was going to be good, but this is way better than I initially thought it was.
You know, I've had several this last year that after the show I said, wow, that's one of the best shows I have ever seen.
Yeah. And I'm sure everybody thinks you're speaking in hyperbole, just being like, this is the greatest. But
yeah, but no, I've seen a lot of shows, and if they move me that much, it just... I've had a lot of groups. One in particular was Dennis Jones out of California, a 3-piece blues band, and well, they're black and they're coming into Northwest Iowa. I'd be frightened too, but they come in, play the show. Afterwards, they come up to me and they said, "Oh God, we had just a fantastic time." But we got to tell you that when we pulled into town, we just thought, "Oh my God, doesn't our manager like us anymore?" But we just had a great time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, some female singer this last year said, "Walking into Byron's is like when the Wizard of Oz turns from black and white to color."
Yeah. Oh, totally.
And I go, wow, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's totally. I mean, it's one of those deals where, and I don't want to down on the town. I'm not trying to make anybody that lives here feel bad, but it's like you've got a couple of buildings down the street that are just like empty with some like broken out windows and stuff like that. It's just kind of your typical small Iowa town where it's just Main Street's dying, kind of whatever. Because I mean, every small town in Iowa's having that happen a little bit. But you come in here, it's like you said, you open the door, it's like, oh, dude, I didn't know this was here. You know, even just based on, you almost don't even know that this is going to be here, even though there's a giant sign outside that says Byron's.
Yeah, and it's got Grateful Dead bears on it, so a deadhead knows that that's Grateful Dead bears.
Yeah.
Other than that, you wouldn't know. No, it's pretty plain out front.
Yeah, and it looks just like a normal small town. I mean, you got your like elevator and everything into Ellisontown. like what drew you to this town? Like, are you from here
Oh yeah, I
originally,
grew
or-
up in this. I grew up on a farm outside of town.
Okay, so you do have some tie to the
Oh,
area.
yeah.
I didn't know if you just like picked a small town in
No,
Iowa
no. And
lived
then
here.
then I went to Iowa State to school, and then my father had a heart attack, and I had to come back and farm for a year, and I've just never moved away.
Oh, nice. I mean, well, not nice based on the.
Well, yeah, I
circumstance,
moved into
but-
my house 35 years ago for 3 weeks.
Oh, that seems to be the way it goes, though. Like, I mean,
But I like Pomeroy. Pomeroy's a nice town.
yeah,
People are all friendly.
yeah. I mean, as far as the time I've spent here, everybody's always smiling, having a great time. Everybody's always been friendly. Like you said, it's just one of those weird things where like you bump into somebody and nobody's just like, "Oh, you dick." Yes, everyone's like, "Oh, sorry, excuse me," and everyone's super nice. And not that other bars are just everyone's mean, but at the same rate, like you do run into some situations where people are just like, "You stepped on my shoe, I'm gonna fight you over it,"
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
And I don't know. Nobody here is really getting that worked up over anything, and that's probably one of the benefits of this place. I feel like it kind of takes on your personality. Does that make sense?
Well, could. I don't know.
It's you seem like a pretty easygoing person, and this is a pretty easygoing place.
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And I sure hate violence.
I mean, you and I were talking before the podcast that you were kind of just looking to open a place that had music you wanted to listen to. That kind of was a place that you could enjoy going to.
Yeah.
You know?
That's I always thought I want a bar that I would want to go to.
As I guess it's tough. I don't know how to just like. Did you always like want to open a bar like your whole entire life? Was
Oh,
it just
no,
like,
no,
I mean,
no.
like was
No.
it just one of those things like, "Oh, I'm going to go to college, but when I go back."
No,
when
when I moved back to Pomeroy, I pretty much every night I was at the bar, and the bartender says, "Hey, you're here every night. How would you like to work a couple?" Sure. So I started bartending for him, and then I continued bartending for him, and wow, hell, I've been sold with the bar 3 times. But then the opportunity came that this bar here went up on auction.
Okay.
So I went after it, and I got it for a very reasonable price, and that was 24 years ago.
Wow. So the rest is just kind of history from
Yeah.
then. I mean,
It's an evolution that I never would. Nah, I don't look much farther ahead than a month or two. So I never looked ahead 24 years.
yeah, to think. I mean, young Byron never thought that you'd get to this place in your life here. Probably,
No.
I mean, even as far as like going to shows, I bet you never thought you'd have a place where you could host national touring acts.
Oh no way. I do. No. I mean, I can't believe the people that I've been able to meet because of this.
Yeah.
The only downside is that I don't get to go out to many other shows, though.
Yeah.
I'm working here 6 days a week.
Yeah. I mean,
Every once in a while, a show comes up that I just have to go to.
yeah. That's the other thing I think a lot of people don't understand about like the business owner aspect of it all is you don't get a whole lot of free time to do anything other than this, and that's.
Yeah.
But that's like also the benefit is like, well, then I'm just bringing in the music I want to hear. Then, instead of just bringing in whoever wants to show up and just playing a show.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought too, was that if I bring in a really good act, I don't have to travel anywhere to go see it. I don't have to get a motel room or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
But then so many shows I could have got a suite at the Marriott and not lost as much money.
Yeah. I know.
But I still had a great time. Got to meet these people. That's the best part. And the stories that these artists can tell. They travel all over the world, and I just love listening to the stories. Where a song came from. I love listening to that. Because, there's a lot of songs, if you just listen to them, they don't really make a whole lot of sense. But if you get the pre-story, it's pretty good.
I was actually last time I was here, it was at Jam Night. I was discussing that with somebody, and I was saying how like a lot of songs, like I could write a song, but it would be too like cut and dry. You would understand like everything I'm saying. It's like my love song is like, I loved a girl, she broke up with me, I was sad. It'd be too matter of factly, but like the best songwriters leave enough interpretation open to the listener where it's just like, does this actually mean anything? And if it does, what does it mean? Well, that's my opinion or your opinion or somebody else's, and it might be different for every person. But like you said, if you get that pre-thought, like where were you at as the writer when you wrote this, that might actually give you a completely different aspect as far as listening.
And it really works for instrumental artists.
Oh,
like you interviewed Marvin.
Yeah.
And they give a story of where the song came from, and then they play it. Afterwards, I always just go, oh, wow, I never would have picked that up. But, I just love those guys. I'm not all that familiar with jazz, but they sure make it fun.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing about it is like, I'm not sure what else is like it that I would like to listen to, but whatever they've got is like one of those, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
I don't know how to even describe it. Like you said, it's that weird like fusion jazz, but it's got like that like Israeli kind of feel to it,
they were definitely one of that exceeded my expectations. So.
Yeah, and that was one of those shows. I didn't realize how many people I knew here at the show, but just not yet. Because like 2 or 3 years later, I started playing my own music and going and getting it deeper into the local music scene. It was like I find people. I was like, oh, I was at that Marvin show. A lot of people said that when the Marvin podcast came out with Danny Rabin, and I was just like, I was at that show. Like I know you were at the show. I was at that show. That's crazy. And it blew my mind that he was going to be here. Because I mean, you'll see him. He's playing at like bigger cities and bigger bars. He's playing. Or like a whole town festival. They're playing like at a park, or like while something's going on in a town. They're usually playing, I don't want to say big venues, but they're usually trying to fill up somewhere big. And
I love looking at some of their schedules, and there's little Pomeroy, Iowa, right in the middle of it.
Just love it. One of the things I always thought about as far as like trying to find you online and see what was going on was you originally had like a Facebook group for everybody to kind of jump into to like figure out what shows were going on here. That's where a lot of the posts were. Do you do a lot of the Facebook posting yourself, or does somebody else take?
That's the tough part. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
I'd love to.
So I just recently started another Byron's in Pomeroy, Iowa, but I really don't know what I'm doing. I got to get a kindergartner to come up and teach me how to do it.
I'll tell you what. I'll sit down with you and we can talk about that some other time, because I feel like if we could organize it all in one spot, it'd be like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. I used to do a newsletter too to about
no way
300 people or so, but I quit doing that too.
Oh God, that would take some time.
They were going to make me king of the procrastinators, but I sent my application in too late.
Yeah, newsletter's actually a pretty damn good idea.
Well, that was before Facebook. I didn't have any other way to get it out there, and so I'd send out one a month showing what I had coming in the month ahead.
God, I don't know why I never thought like physical mail, especially like even nowadays that might even work better than Facebook, because nowadays
this was just emails.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say if it was physical, like dang, you'd be putting in a lot of goddamn work too.
Goddamn lot of stamps too.
Yeah, holy cow. Oh man, but that's the kind of thing though. Is like I bet it takes a lot of creativity to try to get people to come out here up until you gained that momentum of being.
Oh, it's still hard to get people to come out.
Yeah, the jam night the other night though. I mean, I think about that. Like you said, it's not always that packed, but it was packed in here. Like if you
that was a good night. That young guitar player, it was his birthday, and a lot of that was his family too. So.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody's saying,
but you got to experience Byron's before you know what it's like, and maybe they'll come back.
Yeah, I mean that's God. That was the only reason I ended up coming back, because I knew this place was cool, and it was one of those things like, I mean, you can go to some random bar to see a random band and just never go back. But this place, it's just far enough away where it's kind of inconvenient to drive here for me. But I've still come back here for a few times. I mean, the last time I was here, Clint Riedel was just like, "Hey, I'm playing at Byron's," and for some reason I thought he said Barnum, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I'll go to that show," and he's just like, "Oh cool, did you know where it's at?" And I was like, "Oh, Byron's. Oh yeah, I know where that's at. I was like, it's only like 20 more minutes. Whatever, I'll just go. And so and you end up going, and I got to see so many people I actually knew, and you and I got to run into each other, like officially actually meet instead of just being Facebook buddies or whatever they call it. But what do you think? Like one of the best like relationships you've built as far as doing this owning a bar, playing music kind of thing? Because you've kind of, like you said earlier, done all of your booking and everything kind of solo. Have you ever gotten like outside help from anybody, or has anybody kind of vouched for you, or
Well, I got a
one?
few booking agents that will send me stuff.
Whoa,
They'll go like,
what?
I got so and so coming. I think you'd like them.
No way, that's
Yeah.
cool. So you're not even like just well known by the people locally, but you also have some people that book shows
Oh, yeah.
around the area ish that know of this place.
Yeah, I get a lot of people from East Nashville.
That's wild.
I had a friend wear a Byron shirt down to the American Music Awards this year in Nashville.
What?
And he said 5 people came up to him and said, I've played there. So that's pretty cool.
Dude, that's wild. And that's just one of those things. How do you think this travels like that? I mean, obviously the easy answer is like because it's awesome. I mean, that's like the easy answer because your place it cultivated its own cult of personality of sorts. It's growing this thing of its own that is in people's minds. They like you said, you can go down to Nashville with a Byron's T-shirt and people can know what it is.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing. That's a thing. I mean, even like what I was talking about with minimal Facebook exposure and stuff like that. So there has to be some. I bet there has to be some like musicians that come through this place that know it's special and leave and then tell the tale of Byron.
Oh yeah, a lot of that, and that started early on. That I have bands and they just go, damn, we had fun. We're gonna tell people about this place, and
Yeah.
and it's really spread the word pretty good.
That's pretty crazy. What?
I had a band in here from Chicago called Family Groove Company, and they played their show, and in the third set they go, Byron, we got nothing to do tomorrow night either. Can we come back and play for tips and beers? And I go, sure. And we're working on a new song. Do you care if we practice in the afternoon? And I go, well, I got the time. So this all happened, and the next time I saw them, they told this story to the audience. And they said, and here's the song that we practiced that afternoon. We named it Byron's Got the Time. And it's a strictly instrumental song, and it's just fantastic. And it gets requested at festivals all over the place.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I was talking about Relics Magazine earlier.
Yeah.
They have a sampler CD in their magazine, and there was Family Groove Company, Byron's Got the Time.
Dude.
And I'm going, I'm in a national magazine, but nobody knows who the fuck Byron is.
Well, I mean, we've kind of disproven that, though.
Well,
Like,
yeah, but
but yeah, I mean,
maybe a few
they
knew
might not
it.
specifically
But what
know
a
that it's
cool
actually
thing to have a song written about you,
That's-
even though there's no mention of me. But
This Family Groove Company. Byron's
Yeah.
Got the Time. Look it up. I'm gonna look it up.
I think somewhere on my website it's got it where you can takes you to YouTube to.
Oh, cool. You've got a Byron's website for this place for
Yes,
the bar, then?
it's Byron's-bar.com.
Okay, sweet. I mean, I don't know. I must have left my phone outside. I hope I didn't leave it at work. But anyways, I must have left it outside. So otherwise I'd be Googling it up and checking it out right now. But I'm going to remember that because it'll be in the description section down below for anybody that is too lazy to punch it in themselves. Just scroll down and click the link.
It was just Byron's Bar, and then I forgot to pay my fee in time, and somebody grabbed it
Yep.
and wanted $350 to have it back. So I just put the dash in there.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean,
all it took.
Dude, that's the way it goes. I recently started audiblefarm.com, but it was one of those things where they give you like an imaginary valuation of what this is worth, and that's usually like if you don't pay to renew owning the thing, somebody will just nab it up like instantly and be like, it's valued at this many, give me that many dollars, and it's like it's not worth that much. I'll just spend $10 on something else, you know. It makes sense, but it's kind of an inconvenience. But do you put like all your shows and stuff like that on the website? As far as like
Yeah, I have a
up-
Google Calendar on there that you can see clear as far out as I book.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. So that's
And
actually
I
pretty awesome.
usually keep it up to date.
Well, I mean, I do the same thing with websites. I was known when I used to make more websites when I was younger as letting them get out of date. And
Well, it's more for my sake because I had 2 or 3 double bookings last year because I just forgot I had somebody booked,
Oh,
and
no.
then just totally lucky that I found out before it happened that I had 2 bands booked.
oh wow, yeah. I mean, that'd be rough. Have you ever had a double booking where both bands showed up?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I found out about them beforehand.
Woo, lucky duck. Otherwise,
I've had one band that didn't show up,
oh, rough stuff. Maybe
but I kind of found out about that a couple of days before it too, because they didn't show up at it.
at a previous
prior
place.
gig.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's another thing. I'm sure like the traveling band thing is not an easy task by any means. It probably like you're talking about, these traveling bands probably have a lot of stories because it's just like 2, 3, 4 people all sitting together in a vehicle, like usually one vehicle, just going from.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got to get along.
Yep, and that's.
This guy I got coming tomorrow night is traveling all over hell the next month. He's traveling into Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska.
Hitting all the states with the eyes. Is that all of them? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not what this is. This isn't a quiz show. So everybody, if you want to, you can go to byrons-bar.com. Check out the calendar on there. There will be all sorts of stuff as far as what you want to watch. Coming up to Byron's, it's a great place. How much are shows usually? Like 10, 15,
usually
20?
$10, but
10? That's not bad.
15 for every once in a while. And
I can see that.
I had when I got Greg Brown, I told him I know I can't afford your normal fee, but I also know I can sell out whatever price I put on it. What should I put on it? And he said, well, don't make it too expensive or we'll just have the rich snots there. So I said, how about $20? And he said, sounds great. So that's what the
Cool.
ticket for that was.
Nice.
I think I'm not sure if I had a $20 ticket for Commander Cody. He cost a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, what a cool show that was.
Oh, God, that's awesome. That's. I'm like.
One of my all-time favorite shows here was the most fun I've ever had losing so much money. Was I had a band from Nashville called Daddy here. It was Will Kimbrough, Tommy Womack, David Jakes, who plays bass for John Prine. A drummer. I can't think of the drummer's name, but he's a great drummer too. And it was just they played her 2 nights, and I smiled so hard those 2 nights that my cheeks hurt. But I just didn't get a crowd here, and it cost me quite a bit of money to get them up here for 2 nights.
Oh, that's rough.
But I was worth it, every penny.
Do you? I mean, that's probably got to be one of your biggest fears as far as booking shows. Is
How much money I'm going to lose at?
well, I don't mean it like that. No, I mean like we talked about it probably ad nauseum, but like small town bar, it's a little ways away from the next biggest town over. Which, I mean,
And then the big thing is, like you said, nobody's ever heard of these people, and I've never heard of most of them. But like I had a guy, Bruce Katz, call me and said, I heard about your bar and I would love to come play there. And I go, who's Bruce Katz? So I Googled him, and here he plays the keyboards for the Greg Allman Band, has played with the Allman Brothers, plays with Delbert McClinton, plays with John Hammond, and he heard about my little bar and wanted to play here. And I had just tried to get a jam band, and I can't remember their names. So I sent them an offer of $500, rooms, food, beer. And they said, I'm sorry, offers usually start at $5,000. So I go, well, sorry for your time. And then Bruce Katz contacts me. I copied and pasted that same offer and sent it to him, and he said, sounds great. And wow, what a keyboard artist that is. Now he's been here about 5 times. He called Byron's the Hypnus Center of the Universe.
The what?
The Hypnus Center of the Universe.
Hypnus.
Yeah. And he lives out in in Woodstock, New York, right next to where Levon Helm lives. So,
Okay,
so
so
he knows his shit.
yeah, I knows a thing or two about hipness
Yeah.
for sure. What do you got coming up as far as shows? I don't know. Let's see here. This will come out. I guess you have a show coming up tomorrow, but this will come out Thursday, unfortunately. So yesterday, in radio talk, yesterday you had a
Okay,
show.
well, Sunday.
Sunday.
No, let's start with Friday, January 17th.
Yep.
I have Freak Bass coming back.
Okay.
Unbelievable guy. What a show he puts on. You will leave so funked up. And then on that Sunday, I have a Rachel Kilgore, a female singer from Minneapolis. Great.
Yep.
Then on the end of the month, I have the Soul Searchers from Des Moines, Iowa. Fantastic, smooth blues.
Cool.
Then in February,
I remember seeing that. Like, your shows are. It's not like you just have jam band. I mean, you got blues. You got singer songwriter style stuff. You got. I mean, I've seen people in here with upright basses.
Yeah.
You got big drum kits, small drum kits, electric drum kits. You name it. I mean, it's kind of a crazy cool thing that you got.
then my birthday weekend's coming up again.
Oh, sweet.
And I got on the 7th, Friday the 7th of February, I have Kevin Gordon Trio coming
Cool.
out of East Nashville.
Nashville.
And then on the 9th, I got the Paul Nelson Band, one of my favorite guys that I've ever met. He played 14 years with Johnny Winters.
Oh, cool.
Has played all over the world and just loves playing in this little bar. And it shows in the show he puts on.
I just think I love it so much. Like every time you say that, it just makes me smile. I'm like, God dang, isn't that just crazy? I just shake my head. I'm like, isn't that crazy? You know,
It
it's
is.
Like,
I mean,
like it doesn't seem like something that would make sense in your mind. Like, why? Like, why are you coming here? Like, I get it. I mean, I get it, but it's still like, unless you come here and see it yourself, you just don't understand. You know.
well, especially like I have a Scott Holt that's played here several times. He played with Buddy Guy for 10 years.
Okay.
And he comes in here and plays the first time. Halfway through the show, he goes, "Wow, I've played all over the world, and this is already one of my favorite places to play." And it just blew me away that somebody that's played that many spots would just instantly say that about this place. So I asked him what makes me different. And he said, "You're nice." So most places we go to, we're the hired help. Get the hell out of our way. You're not getting them to drink enough. Where you're nice to us. And you're in it for the music, which that's what we're in it for. And it's great when the musician is having fun, the audience is having fun, and they feed off of each other. And that's when special shows happen.
Yeah. I mean, I will have to say, like, it's pretty much exactly what you just said. When I was talking earlier about how, like, this is a pretty laid-back bar compared to most bars, like, nobody's yelling here. And you hear a lot of yelling at a lot of bars. I've played music, and nobody's ever treated me really, like, that bad as, like, yelling at the musician. But you do get that kind of vibe as, like, you need to bring more people in here. More people need to be drinking. And nobody's ever saying it, but you definitely kind of feel like the pressure of it all. You know,
Well.
it's tough. It's maybe it's just me internally walking around thinking that, but I don't know.
I don't know. I started off right away with teaching the audience that you have to become engaged with that music. You have to listen to it. You have to listen to the lyrics and everything in order to really appreciate it. And the artist appreciates you listening to them too. So it's a win-win situation. And if you're behind me having a conversation, my mind is going to you, listening to you instead of the artist. So if I turn around and tell you to shut the fuck up, I'm doing it in love. I'm usually a little more tactful than that. But
I get it though. Like I don't want to say I'm easily distracted, but once I get distracted, it's hard for me to get back on focus to whatever I was enjoying. Because the whole time I'm just like, man, it's like having that one bad thing happen to you in the day, and you can have 10 other good things happening. And you're just like, all you can think about is that one bad thing until you confront that issue and to get it over with. You're just like, I gotta get it done for.
Now there's some shows that are a singer-songwriter. Dave Moore comes to mind from Iowa City, and you're going to think he's terrible if you do not sit and listen to him. And if you do, you're going to think, wow. So him, I'll go up before he starts playing and tell the people that you have to be quiet for this. If you want to carry on a conversation, go outside. And when you're done, come back in, because I don't want to listen to that. Nobody in here wants to listen to that. We came to listen to this.
Yeah, and that's
And then I also found out, before you give that speech, you have to get everybody in here's attention.
No.
Because the talkers ain't listening to you tell that either.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point.
So you got to get everybody's attention and then tell that story.
That's very fair. I totally understand that though too, because like your bar doesn't have like this ridiculously huge sound system with giant stacks of speakers and woofers and you know, thousands of watts of, you know, town shaking power. You bring a lot of bands in here that rely on dynamics.
And I'm really lucky that this place sounds really good.
Oh yeah,
It's got great acoustics in here.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the things though. If you got bands that come in here and they're playing quiet to loudish, or like you got one guy on an acoustic guitar, like you've got to be able to hear him when what he's doing quietly, because not everything is turned up to 10 that he's doing, you know, where like if you're going to watch a metal band, usually everything's at 10 all the time. Everything is just as loud as it's gonna be. It might not be blowing your eardrums off, but it's like everything's gonna be exactly this loud, so as long as you can hear it, you can hear it. But like somebody might be, you know, it's this like you were talking about with the voice, having a voice where you can like get such a different range on it. You can go quietly or louder with it or whatever, you know. So that's one of those things, as far as me being a musician and also being easily distracted as a viewer. I totally agree with the fact where like if you want to watch something that really means a lot to you, you've got to pay attention to it. Otherwise, your whole heart's not in it, and then you're just gonna distract somebody else from having a good time. Plus, like if you just take your average bar dynamic, you could just have like one person that's just like walking around yelling while everybody else is quiet, and then everyone's going to look at this guy, one person just walking around yelling. You know, it is a big distraction, so I totally get it. What's like the funnest time you've ever had in here? Or like, have you ever had something where you gave away, I don't care what you think, it's a bubble wand. Have you ever given anything away where somebody just like was just like, this is the craziest thing ever? You know,
a lot of things.
Because you're talking back scratchers. Someone's out there's got a collection of Byron back scratchers.
Well, I gave away toilet plungers for a while. I found them at Menards for like $2, and I bought 25 of them.
You never know.
And I took them up to the counter to check out, and she goes, "Let me guess, motel." And I go, "Nope, door prizes."
Door prizes.
And then I can't remember who the first artist was, whoever won it went over and asked him to sign my toilet plunger. That was pretty cool.
That's hilarious. Do you have a toilet plunger with a bunch of autographs on it around your bed somewhere?
No. No.
Oh god.
They were always unused when I gave them away.
Of course. Well, I mean, that's just one of those things. You heard it here first. You might show up to Byron's and find something you never knew you needed, and you might win it as a door prize. You never know. And that was probably my favorite thing, because I'm sure there's plenty of things that I saw while being here that were door prizes that I forgot about. I know we've even mentioned other ones in previous podcasts. So if you want to hear any more about those, maybe go back. Better idea might be showing up and winning a door prize for yourself, because
and then
it's fun.
Then Roger Feldhans has donated a lot of prizes for me.
Okay.
He used to be a tie-dye artist, and so he donated a lot of tie-dyes to give away.
Cool.
Now he's a photographer. Now he does photography, and he gives away photographs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, framed and everything. They're pretty cool.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. So you got all sorts of cool stuff going on here. We were talking about who's going to be here. I'm sure there's plenty more on the calendar there that people can find online if they want to check it out.
Yep.
Anything else, anywhere else, people you want to send them? You want to give anybody shout outs, give high fives verbally to anybody?
Oh, wow, of course I can't think of anybody right now.
Nobody ever does, but I always spring it on everybody at the last second. You know? So I never give anybody any time to plan for the shout outs.
Well, I would like to thank my college friends, my first college friends that got me turned on to live music.
Yeah.
That, I think they actually totally changed my life. I don't know if it's for the better or not, but they did change my life. And I always want to thank them for that.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all the artists that have ever played here and enjoyed it. And it's what I've come up with, that I am living a dream I didn't know I had.
Ah, that's very
Because
beautiful.
that is totally it. I am having such a good time now. My week can be totally shit, but if I'm looking forward to a show on Sunday, that's going to be fantastic. It's just such a thing to look forward to, and then to
Yeah.
experience, and then okay, we can start all over and do it again.
Yep. Start over fresh after the
Uh-huh.
show's over. Yeah, that's so nice. You always have something to look forward to, and God, that's a great way to look at it. I never really would have thought of it like that. And I think that's one of the things that makes you you. And
I guess so.
I hope.
It's always easier for somebody else to see it person than to see it yourself.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense. I mean I've done these podcasts, and you can't see the forest for the trees. It's one of those things where it's like I've got hours and hours and hours of myself blabbering with other people, and I still just feel like I get exactly what you're saying. It's hard to identify yourself with your own characteristics and see things like that, unless you're looking at yourself when you were young. Be like, oh, I was dumb when I was young or whatever. But yeah, I mean that's one of the things that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you. I've never sat down and talked to I think you're the first person on the podcast that's a non-musician, non-entertainer. And the whole reason is that when I come here, I'm entertained. It doesn't matter who's on stage, I'm entertained. It's a fun place to be. This podcast usually is mostly just for like musicians and comedians and things like that. But I wanted to get in here and let you be able to at least tell a little bit of your story.
I always like talking about Byron's though. Because Byron's is different than me.
Yeah.
I mean, in the fact that I'm not this cool.
And that's
I've created something pretty cool, but I'm not that cool.
Oh, well, that might be what you think. Maybe not everybody else. Everybody else might think you're pretty damn cool. At least
Tommy Womack, I love that guy. He just comes up with such great lines. He's got one. I have a shaky sense of self-esteem.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's nice, man. And that's the other thing is you and I have, other than this podcast, probably only talked for like the grand total of about a half an hour before this, like face to face. And that's probably one of my favorite things about you is you've got this waxing philosophical one-liner. Your brain's just full of them, and you just have the ability. I've probably heard 10 of them from you that are just like that. And how you remember them, I don't know. But
I don't know either.
I feel you, man.
My brain is full of useless information.
Yeah, that's the best way to be, man.
Oh yeah.
Well,
what a long, strange trip it's been.
Yeah. And same with the podcast. Same with this interview, man. I want to say thanks like a million for sitting down, just talking with me about this awesome place. In the middle of nowhere, quote unquote. It's beautiful, man. You can find
it's an experience. It's hard to explain Byron's. You just have to come and experience it, and especially during one of the shows.
Yes.
You experience that. It's just.
I mean,
it's cool.
Yeah, and like you said, you have to. Like, I could walk around here and take pictures and photograph this place. I could walk around here with a video camera and videotape it doesn't do it justice. You got to come in here and see it. It's.
And not too many bars will tell you that when you go to the bathroom, make sure you put the toilet seat all the way down, because I have the coolest toilet seats in the world, but they're usually up and you don't get a seat.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that intriguing?
I
love telling that to a band when they come, though.
You better come and check it out for yourselves, everybody. I've been sitting here talking with Byron today, Byron Stuart. It's been a great time sitting down, getting to know you. I hope everybody else has had just as fun time sitting down, getting to know you as well. Maybe we can sit down again and do this another time and just keep peeling that onion, Thanks, Byron. We'll check you next time.
Peace.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one. Byron's a great guy. That's all I gotta say. It's a fun time out at Byron's. Make sure you stop out sometime. Have a brewski, have a pizza, enjoy some shows. It's a great time. I don't make it out there enough. And I tell you what, I said it in the podcast, and I'll say it again. If sometimes I miss shows, and then we'll see somebody had posted a video online, I'm like, ah, dang, that show looked awesome. I wished I would have known. So if that's not fear of missing out, I don't know what is. So make sure you go to Byron sometime. Check it out. He's got a crazy cool bar there. Bring your buddies. There's a lot of Grateful Dead stuff. If you're into the Grateful Dead, it is an absolute must. You have to stop at this place. It's a fun bar. Check it out. Byron's a fun guy. All sorts of good music stopping through. Like I said earlier, great podcast. I want to say a huge shout out to Byron and thank him for taking some time out of his working hours to sit down and talk with me about his bar and him and how awesome he is and how fun everything's going on. So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you, Byron. Be sure you guys scroll down and check out the links. I got a link to Byron's website there, as well as the current Facebook page. And I've even got a link to, he mentioned it in the podcast. If you go to YouTube and search Byron's Pomeroy, Iowa, you'll find videos. He wasn't kidding. There's a pile of them there. So I put a link to that down as well. So check that out. There's plenty of stuff at Byron's in Pomeroy, Iowa. Pretty awesome stuff. All right, so check that out. Make sure you go to Byron's website. Check out the shows coming up. Head out to a show. They're cheap. It's like usually, he said it's usually only $10 for most shows, so it's totally worth it if you're in the area. It's a short drive from any of the bigger cities around. I live near the Humboldt and Fort Dodge area, so it's not terribly far, but it's a small jaunt, but that's kind of what makes it fun. Make sure you go to www.audiblefarm.com. Check out everything at Audible Farm. We've got links to listen to the podcast, as well as you can find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, do all the good stuff. I thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast each and every week. It's kind of crazy. I sit down and sometimes I look at the stats and see how we're doing on listens in the podcast, and it's blowing up. So I just want to say thanks, guys. I'm glad people are listening and enjoying what I've got going on. It's just me sitting down talking with people, getting to know them, and I'm really happy that you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. This week's episode was pretty awesome. It's the first time I talked to somebody Byron's not directly a musician, nor is he like an entertainer per se, but he's got a bar, and the entertainment value that he brings with that having live music and all sorts of stuff there. It's just tons of fun. So I really appreciate Byron. I just wanted to give him an opportunity to kind of tell his story. Head on out to Byron's, everybody. I really appreciate it. I want to say thanks once again to Couchtown Coffee. I want to say thanks to our partners. Head to audiblefarm.com. Scroll to the bottom and check out our partners' links. All sorts of fun stuff in the Iowa area as far as arts and music is concerned. That seems to be about it. I'm kind of getting this one in under the wire, so I will check you guys next time. Peace.